Welcome back to episode 81 of the Crynet GenShow. I'm your host, and after the fireworks of our 80th Jubilee, the market has really settled into what I call the institutional bedrock phase.
Yeah, we are officially moving from pure speculation to just, well, pure execution.
Right, because retail traders are probably busy obsessing over the latest meme coin. But if you look at the actual data from mid-April 2026, big money is already here. Bitcoin is holding that $70,450 fortress, which is just crazy.
It is, and that's driven heavily by massive Asian spot ETF inflows, which are, basically offsetting all the Western profit taking.
Absolutely. But I think the real signal is BlackRock's BUIDL fund. It just skyrocketed to a $1.5 billion market cap.
Which is huge. They essentially took boring U.S. government bonds and put them on a blockchain.
So they get traditional yield, but keep the assets in a crypto-native format.
Exactly.
So for today's deep dive, our mission is to break down 10 massive updates to show you exactly how the global economy is finally learning to play by the rules of the ledger. The foundation is set.
And to build on that foundation, these institutions desperately need enterprise-grade infrastructure. They can't just rely on clunky experimental setups anymore.
Right, which brings us to Google Cloud. They just integrated Solana into their blockchain node engine.
Yeah, so developers can now deploy dedicated Solana nodes in, seconds.
So I have to ask, is this basically the AWS for Web3? Is this one-click deployment the true catalyst for institutional permanence?
I mean, I'd actually push back a bit on calling it the AWS of Web3, mainly because AWS implies centralized control over the data itself.
Ah, okay, that's a fair distinction.
Yeah, what Google is doing here is removing the massive friction of hardware maintenance. They're telling traditional tech companies that deploying on-chain is now as standard and painless as hosting a regular website.
But as that infrastructure scales, global regulators are taking drastically different approaches to governing it. Just this week, the U.S. Treasury dropped this 150-page proposal pushing for KYC Know Your Customer and anti-money laundering checks on decentralized exchanges.
Which essentially means they're trying to force decentralized code to perform the identity checks of a traditional bank.
It's just not built for that.
No, not at all. And it's facing massive legal pushback. But contrast that immediately with Hong Kong. On the exact same timeline, they just approved the world's first staked Ethereum ETFs.
Wait, explain the staked part for you listening, because that's the crucial difference from the U.S. ETFs, right?
Precisely. A standard ETF just tracks the price of Ethereum. But a staked ETF takes that underlying ETH and locks it into the network to help secure the blockchain.
Oh, which generates an automatic yield.
Exactly. Hong Kong is legally wrapping that decentralized yield into a traditional financial product.
Okay, so let me throw a pushback question at that. If the U.S. forces strict KYC on decentralized protocols, won't capital just instantly route to Hong Kong's yield-inclusive ETFs instead?
Oh, absolutely. Crypto capital is completely borderless. If an institution finds a frictionless, compliant wrapper in Hong Kong, the smart contracts just route the funds there instantly. And even the IMF is realizing you can't fight this. They pivoted in a surprising paper this week, saying that private stablecoins are indispensable and that CBDCs need to focus on interoperability rather than trying to outlaw them.
So while DC is busy drafting 150 pages of red tape, the technology is actively dissolving borders and friction. Ethereum's Glamsterdam upgrade is officially confirmed for June 11th.
Yeah, and the Sepolia testnet is next week.
Right, so we are exactly 2 months out. And that creates a looming Ethereum supply shock, doesn't it?
Definitely. The upgrade mechanisms encourage even more Ethereum to be locked up. So you have institutional demand rising, while the circulating supply in exchanges physically shrinks.
It's basic supply and demand. And the tech is getting faster, too. Polygon just completed its migration to the ZK-powered POL token.
Right, using zero-knowledge proofs for better privacy and scaling.
Which is exactly what traditional payments need. PayPal just expanded its PYUSD stablecoin to 5 layer 2s for the new agentic AI economy, and 1inch launched Fusion Plus for bridgeless atomic cross-chain swaps.
That Fusion Plus update is massive.
It really is. To me, Fusion Plus sounds like safely teleporting your assets instead of walking them across a rickety, highly hackable bridge.
That is the perfect analogy. Bridge exploits have cost billions because hackers attack the honeypot sitting between chains. Atomic swaps just eliminate that target completely.
So it's basically a digital vending machine. If both sides don't pay simultaneously, the transaction just cancels.
Exactly. No middleman, no risk.
Well, that is a wrap for episode 81. The barriers to entry for the next billion users are practically melting away.
They really are.
But I want to leave you listening with a thought to mull over. If PayPal's stablecoins are rapidly expanding to serve this agentic AI economy where AI agents autonomously execute microtransactions all day, are human beings about to become the minority of daily transactors on the blockchain?
That is a wild thought to end on.
Right. Make sure to check the show notes for the Polygon roadmap and the Hong Kong ETF details. Keep your keys safe, your nodes running, and I'll see you in episode 82.